Battle of Tannenberg started on August 26, 1914, and lasted until August 30th, 1914. This battle was between Russia and Germany. Russia invaded the German territory at East Prussia. General von Hindenburg, under the German army, told Erich Ludendorff to attack the Russian army, which was led by Alexander Samsonov. The German troops ended up capturing and taking many Russian soldiers. Germany won the Battle of Tannenberg. On September 4, 1914, the rapid advances of the German army through Belgium and northern France caused panic in the French army, and troops were rushed from Paris in taxis to halt the advance. Combined with the British Expeditionary Force, the Germans were eventually halted and the war settled into the familiar defensive series of entrenchments. By the end of May 1918, the Germans had again reached the Marne after the enormous successes of Ludendorff's offensives of that year. The intervening 4 years had cost hundreds of thousands of lives, and the armies were still, literally, exactly where they had started.
On October 19th, 1914, the Ypres first battle started. It was between the Allied and German forces. The Germans captured Belgium City. In November, winter brought the battles to a halt. In 1915, the Second Battle of Ypres started. The Germans attacked the Western Front.
The Battle of Gallipoli started February 16, 1915. This battle was between the Allied powers and the Central Powers. The Allies wanted to attack the Central Powers on February 16, 1915, but the attacks lasted until March of 1915 because of weather conditions. In September of 1915, General Charles Monro took over in Hamilton and wanted to stop the Gallipoli battle. Lord Kitchener of the British Secretary of War agreed and ended January 1916. The Central Powers won the battle. The Battle of Verdun was a 10-month-long ordeal between the French and German armies. The battle was part of an unsuccessful German campaign to take the offensive on the Western Front. Both the French and German armies suffered incredibly, with estimated 540,000 French and 430,000 German casualties. And no strategic advantages were gained for either side. The Battle of Verdun is considered to be one of the most brutal events of World War I, and the site itself is remembered as the battlefield with the highest density of dead per square yard. Germany became Europe's leading industrial power. France felt increasingly threatened by German industrialization. And although France ruled the second largest colonial empire in the world, French leaders realized that France could not protect itself on its own from the burgeoning power of Germany. The line of fortifications extended from the Swiss frontier to the French city of Verdun, thus making Verdun a vital strong point for the French war effort. The Germany attacked on February 21, 1916 with an intense artillery bombardment of the forts surrounding Verdun. The French army retreated. Assigned General Henri-Philippe Pétain to command the French army at Verdun. Pétain fought with the motto, "Ils ne passeront pas," which means, "They shall not pass." While the exhausted German army was lingering at Fort Douaumont, Pétain restructured his troops and transported reserves to the region. Continuously. On March 6, 1916, the German commanders ordered an attack, and on March 22, 1916, another French fort near Verdun, Harcourt, surrendered to the German army. A week later, on March 22, 1916, Malincourt, a French fort near Verdun, had fallen to the Germans. Although 3 French forts near Verdun had capitulated to German forces, Verdun itself remained undefeated. German attacks ensued, but by April, the French Air Force had secured the sky over Verdun, which would help the French to successfully defend the area. By November of 1916, all the forts had been reclaimed. The Battle of Jutland started on May 31, 1916. It was between Britain and Germany. David Beatty of British Navy decided to go after the Germans under Reinhard Scheer. The British Navy lost 2 battle cruisers at the beginning of the battle. The Germans went toward the British after 1 round of fighting, and they faced the other part of the British Army, under John Jellicoe. The battle ended with a tie between Britain and Germany. On the 1st of July, 1916, after week-long artillery bombardment launched the now infamous Big Push attack across the River Somme. With the French army being hard-pressed to the south of Verdun, the British intended to break through the German defenses in a matter of hours. This, coupled with the failure of the artillery bombardment to dislodge much of the German wire, or to destroy their machine gun posts, led to one of the biggest slaughters in military history. When the attack began, the Germans dragged themselves out of their dugouts, manned their posts and destroyed the oncoming waves of British infantry. After the first day, with a gain of only 1.5 kilometers, the British had suffered 57,470 casualties. Despite this, Haig pressed on with the attack until November 19th of the same year. For the meager achievements, total losses on the British and Imperial side. Side numbered 419,654 with German casualties between 450,000 and 680,000. When the offensive was eventually called off, the British were still 3 miles short of Bapaume-Serre, part of their first-day objectives.
Forces made an attack in Flanders in 1917. 3rd Ypres was launched on the 31st of July 1917 and continued until the fall of Passchendaele village on the 6th of November. The Battle of Marne started July 15, 1918 and ended August 6, 1918. Erich Ludendorff wanted to distract the Allied powers from Belgium. This battle was between France and Germany. The Germans crossed the Marne River, but was stopped by the French army under Antoine de Mitry. The Central Powers lost the Second Battle of Marne,